the right to non-discrimination, for example, and the right to full expression at the workplace. You see, all of them tied together, they ensure that these human persons who spends actually the almost a third of their day at the workplace is really taken care of. You know, they say we spend a third of our life sleeping. We should also remember that most of the time we spend a third, if not more, of our life working. For those who are at that particular bracket. So whatever laws we have, whatever system we have, must recognize that these persons must be protected as human beings to begin with. They have their dignity, they have their worth, and their subordinates should be protected in that sphere. And the Constitution has gone at great length in terms of giving a general outline of how the employer and the employee should relate. Not only looking specifically at the issue of Article 41, which talks about labor practices, but also having a general look at the other aspects that are included in the Bill of Rights and other articles that ensure that the human dignity and the human worth is preserved and protected. Now, before we enacted the Constitution of Kenya in the year 2010, before that we had, or we still have, the Employment Act, we have the Labor Relations Act. These are laws that were enacted in 2007. And with those laws, it really gave a paradigm shift on the way the relations at the workplace are to be conducted, and they came with a lot of touch on the human aspect and trying to protect the employees a lot. You will see that they have gone out of their way to prescribe certain conduct that the employer should have in place. They should ensure that they have a very good working environment, ensure that they pay the employees on time, and it really gave a lot of particulars on how employer and the employees should relate. And it really went in tandem with the international labor practices, because as you will see from towards the end or mid of the 20th century, towards the 21st century, you will see that the discussions almost everywhere started shifting towards people-centric rights. You will see we started a lot of discussions on women and their empowerment and their rights. We started a lot of discussion of how to protect the worker at the workplace. And there was a lot of deliberations as to whether even the work that is offered at the marketplace, that is offered at the workplace, is it just merely a commodity that you can get from the market, or is it something that has a lot more than just a mere commodity? And you will see that the discussion started shifting towards embracing that work is not just a commodity, but it is clothed with, because it is done by man, it is clothed with a lot of dignity. And because man, as for us Catholics, we understand that, and Christians, that God really placed a lot of emphasis on work. And through work we get our dignity, we get our daily bread, we get to better ourselves and better our relationship with others. Therefore, we concluded that we should not merely treat work as a commodity, but we should give it its rightful preference. We should dignify it. We should ensure that the worker is respected and has their rights properly cut out and respected. So with the new constitution, we established a specialized court. We realized that labor and employer and employee relations are so diverse, they are so far-reaching, that they should be dealt with by specialized court. And what the Constitution did specifically was to establish, apart from the normal High Court proper, it also established the Environment and Land Court with the status of a High Court. and equally establish the Employment and Labor Relations Court, which has the status of a high court, specifically to deal with matters of employment. Now, you will see that this court has really done a lot of work in terms of carving out the indigenous jurisprudence in Kenya and shaping the employer-employee relationship with a lot of specificity, because it is a court that deals only and exclusively with issues of employment. From all its ranges, it just deals with issues of employment and labor relations. So with that, there came an act of parliament called the Employment and Labor Relations Court Act. Now, to give effect to the constitutional principle that there should be established a court specifically to deal with matters of employment. There are quite also other acts of parliaments that deal and govern the issues of employment. You will see that the law mandates the employer to take certain safeguards and ensure that the employees have a safe working environment. And we have the Work Injury Benefits Act. We also have Occupational Health and Safety Act that go a long way in mandating the employer to critically take steps to ensure that the employees have a safe working environment. It is a healthy environment, an environment that enables them to flourish as persons and also flourish as teams and reach their full potential. One other thing that is also quite emerging and is taking a fall in the next frontier of employment and labor discourse is the issue of sexual harassment. In as much as our Employment Act mandates that organizations and all bodies that have employed more than 5 persons should come up with a specific and well outlined and well publicized sexual harassment sexual anti-harassment policy. You see that we are still lagging behind. Many of our institutions have yet to embrace these critical issues, and you will see that these are things that keep on coming up in the general discourse. And sadly enough, it has also caught up with advocates. We will see that there have been allegations on social media of such misconduct. Yeah. But we hope that those allegations will be treated with the seriousness that they deserve, and that those issues shall be brought, those culpable shall be brought to book, and the issues closed. But what we want to emphasize is that it is a duty of the employer to ensure that there is in place as a sexual anti-harassment policy that ensures that and is also their duty to ensure that the employees are aware of this policy, the existence of this policy. The problem that we have as a people is that sometimes we have very good policies, but those documents are gathering dust in the shelves. Sure. We have not discussed them, we've not actualized them, we've not implemented. So it is a critical duty for the employer to ensure that some of these emerging issues, that they really address them with the seriousness that they deserve.
Well put, Wakili. And there is a statement that you've mentioned that has caught my attention, that from when the 21st, when we were transitioning into the 21st century, the trajectory now shifted towards people-centric. Talking about people-centric, Wakili, why do you think that people say that the law as it is currently protecting the employee more than the employer?
I think those who say that with a lot of prominence are the employers. Yeah. If you ask employees, they will also have their own reservation as to the current laws. But to me, through my interactions with the law, I think the law has established a middle ground in terms of protecting the employer and also protecting the employees. But why would the reason why as to why many persons will say that it favors the employees more? I think to me it is an issue of just failure to follow the procedure. Yeah. The employment laws are quite straightforward. They are quite simple. They do not have a lot of legalese. They are just straightforward. And for example, a very clear clear-cut issue is the issue of disciplinary proceedings. If somebody has been suspected of a misconduct at the workplace, there ought to be procedures that ought to be followed. So if failure to follow that, if that matter lands in court, the court will say, look, you had a substantive and fair and valid reason as to why you ought to terminate these persons, but you failed to follow the procedure. Therefore, you have fallen short of one limb of this critical exercise, and as such, this employee should be compensated. In as much as this person has committed a harm that you consider very grievous at that organization, but because you didn't follow procedure, then you would end up paying. So such an employer looking at all this, he or she will fail to understand as to why this person who has even been taken to court and found guilty of stealing company assets is now being compensated. I'm now being asked to compensate him for unfair termination. So it is important that our listeners understand those yardsticks. The employment law is really, really keen on procedure. It's keen on steps, on how you move from one point to another. I usually tell people, in as much as an employer has a premeditated end, in terms of they will think that they are going to terminate this person, but they can't just wake up and do that. They have to take this person through the process. They must hear this person. So in that, from that lens, you may conclude that the employment laws are quite unfair. The other thing is that, as we have said, we have moved towards democratizing the workplace. We've moved towards enhancing human dignity and interactions. That the laws have given a lot of prominence and protection to the worker, the human person. You know, this was not the case before. Previously, an employer would employ the tool of summary dismissal. And summary dismissal used to mean exactly that, summary dismissal. But now, even with summary dismissal, the procedure has to be followed. And you know, there is nothing that brings so many things to a closure, other than just following the due process. The due process ensures that even that person who is accused of something, he's given an opportunity to express himself or herself, to even express his remorsefulness. In as much as you may not consider him, but that will bring some closure. And you will find that that process is a healing process. You will ask this person, you are accused of stealing company asset, this and this. Why did you do that? The person may actually have a very genuine reason that you may consider. They may be. I'm not saying that stealing is something that should be glorified. It's not. But hearing the other person will give you a better perspective in terms of even your decision making. You may find that this person has a genuine reason that you will end up giving him or her a warning as opposed to termination. Because if you just act at the heat of the moment, you will terminate this person. So the law has balanced, and it has placed upon the employer a lot of responsibilities. And these responsibilities have been placed on the employer for the sake of enhancing a good working environment, and ensuring that the human person who wakes up every morning to come to work or every evening to come for the night shift is respected, and he is valued as a human person, and that his development is not interfered with. And in his employment period, that certain uncertainties are removed, so that this person, if he works here, for example, he will be able to know, I am working here for 6 months, or for 1 year, or for 2 years, or until my retirement. So the person will also be able to plan their life accordingly, and know what steps to do, what they need to put in place, what they need to whether search for another employment opportunity or whatnot. So to me, I do not consider our employment laws to be unfair, and the courts have really done that. They have tried to balance the issue of the employer and the employee in terms of even the remedies that they give. they do not necessarily drive the employer out of town. But what is important for the employer is to strictly adhere to the employment laws. That way, once you have done that compliance, then it means you will not really be at crossroads with the law. And in the event that there is any dispute, then your case will be so good, it will be so easy to defend, because you will have followed all the procedures and the processes that are established in law.
Okay, well explained. You know, as you are just explaining, Wakili, I now understand that it is like employment relation. This is a relationship, all right? In this particular relationship, we get the actions. These actions involve the actions of the employee and the actions of the employer. So it is a kind of give and take. So there is one side, there is employee who performs certain obligations. And on the other, there is also the employer who perform certain obligations. Having said that, Wakili, by the way, we're going to be spending quite some time on this particular topic because I really want the listeners to understand, and we will be going into the nitty-gritties about the laws that you've just stipulated and how employment is being governed, the legislation. So we'll begin with what the Constitution says in relation to the Bill of Rights and the employee. But most importantly, Wakili, what are the rights and duties of an employee?
Yes, like how you have said that it's a relation. You know, a relation must have some parameters within which it operates. And in the spirit of Valentine's,
yes,
someone will say in so far as the employer-employee relationship is concerned, that we are caught up in a trap. We can't go on together with suspicious minds. And we can't build our dreams on suspicious minds.
I like that.
I that is not, those are not my words. It's a quote, but I don't right now remember the person, but I'm sure I will get the person who say those words. But what I'm saying is that this relationship and these parties are caught up in a trap for a good reason, not for any other bad reason. And they can't go on together with suspicious minds. So whichever angle you look at it, we must have clarity on their relationship. The clarity must be there to ensure that each person knows their duties, their obligations, their responsibilities, and what is expected of them, so that they perform it so well. And we'll talk about this later. Work in itself, and as it was said by George Clason in his book, The Richest Man in Babylon, that work, when well done, does more good first to the doer.
Yeah.
Yes. So every one of us should appreciate that if you engage somewhere and have been tasked with doing some work, then do it so well. Do it so well that the host of heaven and earth will pause and say, here lived a great person, as Martin Luther will say, a great sweeper who swept his job so well. Do it so well that your employer would find a reason to keep you more and more within that workplace. That the employer would want to even retain you over and above the dependency of your contract. The employer will want to renew your contract. Now, tying that to your question, you will see that the employees, their main duty is to do their work, and to do their work as per their job description. That is also very important, that the employers must understand that whenever they engage someone for a specific work, they should take time and carve the particular assignments that they expect these employees to perform. When they do that, the employee will be will be in a position to focus all their energies on that particular assignment, insofar as it has been carved out by the employer. Now, once the employer has given the employee that job description, it's also easy for the employer and also the duties of an employer to measure the performance and ensure that this person meets the targets. And if there's any challenge, then to think of a way of addressing that. If it means putting the employee on performance improvement programs or some training or what sort, so as to ensure that the employee performs at their optimum. Now, that is the major duty of the employee, to perform their work and to perform it so well.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, we know that when we are doing work, we should not just do work for the sake of doing, for the sake of finishing the task and going.
Yeah.
We should see ourselves through what we do. Because our work, we continue with God's work of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, we should do it so well that God himself will be happy with what we have done, and he will find a reason to wake us up to the following day to continue doing what we are doing. So the employee has that singular obligation to do their work and to do it well, and to respect the environment within which they are doing their work from, to relate well with their superiors and the juniors, to ensure that they make proper use of all the company resources and whatever resources is at their disposal, to be punctual and to generally conduct themselves in a manner that would not bring any issues with the employer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And for me to sweep so well, Bwana Wakili, I must have somebody who gives me the responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
All right? And that is my employer. And there must be something to prove that Bramwell has been given this particular responsibility. And there comes in a contract. Is having a contract as an employee my right or a privilege?
It is your right. It is the duty and obligation of the employer to, number one, ensure that the terms of engagement are reduced into writing. Mm-hmm. In as much as the law recognizes both oral and written contract, but the oral contract has its own limitation and is specifically used for or applied or used in the short stints where one is not expected to work for long. But even where one works for very long and they don't have a contract, the employer has a duty to reduce the terms of service into writing. Because why that is important is because if tomorrow there's a dispute between you and the employer and the employee, and you accuse the employee of not performing the task that you assigned to them, then it is upon you to prove that was the task they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Then if you don't have something concrete, if you don't have anything in writing, how will you prove? It will be your word against theirs. And in law we say the burden of proving existence of employment relationship, the existence of a contract, is on the employer. Mm-hmm. So if you fail to prove that, then it means you've not discharged your burden, and the employee may have an advantage over you.
Okay.
So the employer must know this. It is actually in their best interest to have the terms reduced into writing, explained to the employee in a language that they understand, mm-hmm. and the employee to sign, and for that to be kept in the records, so that in future where there's any doubt as to anything, then there's a reference point, mm-hmm. there's a starting point, an explanation as to how this thing came about, and that will really help solve a lot of issues. The other thing that it does, and I think it's quite important to emphasize, is that it gives the employees some certainty. Mm-hmm. Yes, a human mind is very powerful, and it keeps wandering and oscillating between 2 points or whatever, thinking about all possibilities. Now, if one works and he doesn't know what they're supposed to do, he doesn't know when they might be terminated or when they may leave that organization. So it becomes quite uncertain, and this person may start thinking of other options, mm-hmm. Thinking of getting other places, And that will really take away a crucial part of them, a lot of time which they would have used to engage in productive activities at the workplace. So it is good that these issues of compliances are just dealt with once and for all.
All right.
Because if you also fail to deal with them, they will catch up with you one day, one time.
Okay.
Yes.
And Wakili, talking about that as we conclude, because these are very heavy topic, but we will proceed with the same. I was reading on social media, there is someone who decided to crack a joke, a mechatronic engineer who happens to be a Gen Z. And alisema that someone lied to engineers, to us as engineers, that this is a white-collar job, all right? Ebu prove to me, as a mechatronic engineer, why I should earn 150,000 at the end of the month. And somebody cracked. We are lucky some of us who decided to take humanities in school. You see, that brings in a question, yes. Wakili. Who determines how much an employee gets paid?
We live in a liberal society, let me call it a free market. And many of the things are determined by factors and forces of demand and supply.
Yeah.
If you find that if there's so many labor force in the market, then the employer will have a very large pool from which to choose. And therefore, in that they may have a higher bargaining power, and they may set the terms at their whim. The contrary, the vice versa is also true, where the supply is low and the demand is high. You will see that the employees will now determine their entry level. But what has happened is that professions and government stakeholders have tried to develop a minimum yardstick to ensure that there is fairness at the workplace. There is fair remuneration at the workplace.
Okay.
And that will mean that persons are paid slightly above or above the minimum economic realities. And that's why we have what we call the minimum wage regulations. Ensures that certain cadres of persons are paid at least slightly above that, so that they're able to meet their day-to-day activities and expenses. But having said that, you see, for these professions, there are so many factors that really determines how much. If you get a good organization and they have a policy, an entry policy saying every intern or whoever comes in as a junior at this organization, they will start with a pay of this, and there shall be subsequent pay rises or pay hikes. Others will say, we will give you this much, but you will have commissions based on how good you perform or based on your returns. So there are so many factors that control that, that ensures that both sides are somewhat protected. And where there are trade unions and this organization that champions the rights and welfare of workers, then they come in to ensure that, look, if somebody comes to this field, they should not be paid less than this. This should be the starting point.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is just a teaser, Wakili, because that is exactly what I want us to proceed next time, God willing. But as we wind up, how can listeners get in touch for you for any clarifications?
Thank you. Our listeners can get in touch with us through our mobile phone number, that is 0718 709 088.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that is the contact, my dear listener. 0718 709 088. That is Wakili's number for any inquiries. Wakili Situma, thank you so much. I know right now you are rushing to court. There is a proceeding that you must catch up with. Let me release you as fast as possible. Asante sana, my brother.
Thank you so much.
All right, my dear listener, that has been my time. Thank you so much for your company right from 6 a.m. I do wish you a very, very productive Thursday.
Is Radio Waumini 88.3 FM. This is is Radio Waumini 88.3 FM. This 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 is Radio Waumini 88.3 FM.